An artist's creation truly comes to life when shared with people. Only then does it have real power. Good evening and welcome to For the Love of Words, Artist Interviews and Performances. I'm your host, Rich Berg, along with co-hosts John Hogelson and George Camo. Later in the program, we'll be hearing from musician Bob Bent, and we'll start our program with co-host George Camo and poet, author, storyteller, Thea Ibarral.
Hello, Thea.
Hi, George.
From looking at the website, scientist, storyteller, and poet. Which came first?
Yeah, well, being a scientist came first. I mean, I always thought that I was going to always be a scientist. And I was studying at UMass. I got my doctorate there. And when I got out into the world doing science, I realized I was more interested in what the scientists were feeling about their experiments and thinking about them than the actual results of the experiments themselves. So I realized I had to give up science, and I tried to figure out what was equivalent to being a neuroscientist. And I decided it was being a poet.
Oh, wow.
So that's how I became a poet.
Wow. And in your website, you have a really good description, your description of a poem. I wish I'd written it down, but can you quote it the way you have it on the website? A poem is so many thoughts in so few words, or something like that, how you distill experience.
What I think about poetry.
Yes.
Yeah, that poetry, it's talking, it's big ideas put into a small window. So it's and I've written a novel and I've written poetry, and there's an amazing difference. And I mean, a poem, it's like every word is like a chapter in a book. And
every poem is.
You've got to distill it all down, and so every single word there has to have its weight. And it takes years to figure out how to do that.
And that's why people tell me they can't read a lot of, and neither can I. 3 or 4, and then later on for the rest. Yeah,
yeah.
Everyone is a chapter.
Poems have a lot, and if you really care about the musicality of your words and metaphor, and all those things that really deepen a poem, it's a lot of work to write it, and it's a lot of work to think about it and to absorb it. So I agree.
Tell us, where does some of your creativity and your inspiration come from?
Where it comes from? Well, I just, it comes from a reaction that I have. Something just doesn't feel right, or something I observe. And that's where I wind up writing. Like my poem, Abracadabra. Oh, I was going to bring that. I wanted to show it to you. I have this little talisman that I found at the Renaissance Fair in California. And it has the word abracadabra written on it in Hebrew. And actually, and then right below it is the word abracadabra without the last letter on it. And so it goes down and down until there's only one letter left. So it's this triangle. And I was fascinated by this thing. And it said that abracadabra came from the word abade kedabra, which was spoken in Chaldean, Aramaic, thousands of years ago. And so I said, well, I have to figure this out. And I love researching, so I just researched and researched until I figured it, and then I wrote a poem about it. So,
what did it mean?
Abade Kedabra means perish like the words. It's very close to Hebrew. Dabra is Hebrew for words.
Mm-hmm.
I'm remembering, as you say this, your experience in the airport.
I tried to live that down. I can't, Oh yes, because I closed an airport once. They thought I was a terrorist. And it's something that I can't live down.
From saying abracadabra?
Yeah.
How did you do that?
They thought I had a bomb in my suitcase. And it turns out it was a toy. It was a prototype of a toy for Mattel. After I gave up science, and since I couldn't earn a living as a poet, I became I did contract work for toy companies
Oh,
building
wow.
electronic toys.
Oh,
You have a doctorate in robotics?
In
If I remember
computational
correctly?
neuroscience.
oh,
And how do you're into robotics? Or did I misread that?
No, I was, because what I was studying was basically how your brain controls your hands. And so my dissertation was all about human prehension, which is grasping objects. And then I wrote a book based on that. And so I was studying how your brain controls your hand. This 360-page book I wrote was describing the 2-second process of reaching out to grasp an object. And so we use that to apply to dexterous robot hands.
oh, wow.
You are a clear indication of there are so many poems to be written.
Yes.
Tell us a little about some of your publications.
Which one first? And I'll hold it up.
Well,
Or
this is
you
my,
hold it
my
up.
poetry book. Because I have these two sides of my brain, I developed this thing I call contextual poetry. So it's a way to integrate the knowledge of science and history with the language of poetry. So I write a poem and then I write an essay to go along with it. Like that poem Abracadabra, I have a whole essay about the talisman and what
We're
it all
not going to
means.
have an exam on this, the quiz on this afterwards.
Yes, we are.
'Cause you're way ahead of
Let
most
me
people.
just hold it up and
Little
say,
camera
is
shot
this
there.
is this a good camera shot?
Yes, that's good.
Because one of my questions was going to be contextual. What does that mean? You already
Yes,
told me. So.
I invented it, although Charles Darwin's grandfather actually was a contextual poet, because he was a scientist and a poet, and he put his scientific treatises right in his poetry as well. And then while I was working on that for years, I was working on this novel, which was took me about 20 years to write it. And it's about a 4,000-year-old secret brought through time by the birds. And it's my main character discovers that the swallows at Capistrano are singing a human song.
And how did you come across this subject?
Because I love this song by Richard Farina called The Swallow Song. And as I started studying that song, I found out it was connected to a Ladino song called The Nightingales. And I started researching, and I found a Greek myth about a swallow and a nightingale, and I just put this whole story together. But ultimately, it's about how we as a society have to find a moral center. And I'm suggesting that Gandhi's 7 social sins, which we are stuck in now, is a way to deal with finding true moral center. We have to stop doing Gandhi's 7 social sins. And so this book talks about that. But it's still a love story, and it addresses all of the problems that the patriarchy has caused upon us.
And as we bring our Q&A to a close, tell us where you'll be featuring, where we can find you, about your website, and other social media that you have.
Well, I'm the host of the Espresso Yourself Coffee House. It's a great coffee house in Medfield, and I'm always there once a month. And from there, I go out into the world. I'm in the storytelling community. I'm in the performance poetry community. I teach poetry privately, different places. My website is theaibrol.com, and I always keep it up to date with what I'm doing and where I'll be. So there's...
And for you, that would be a lot of work because you're always so busy. with
Yeah, plus I'll be
everything.
teaching. I'm teaching at the Lifelong Learning programs this year. And I've been teaching at the Genesis Spiritual Center. I can't keep track of what I'm doing.
Thea also has several other books we don't get to, but if you visit the website.
I also wrote a play called We Did It For You about how women
right.
got their rights in America. And I've gotten some cultural grants, local cultural grants, to bring that into high schools. I've been doing this as a workshop for the last 6 years. I have a performing troupe in California. I'd like to form a performing troupe here. If any of your viewers are women and can sing, or even not sing, but are enthusiastic about women's rights, they can contact me through my website. And I want to form a performing troupe to take this all around New England.
And to reinforce that, if you could give your website again.
It's just my name, theaibrol.com.
Okay. That is the poetry, that's Q&A with Thea Iberol, and now we're going to hear her delightful poetry. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Thea Iberol, And as I said, I was a scientist for many years, and when I became a poet, I didn't have much experience to write about other than writing about my experience as a scientist. And I was at a conference in Lake Lugano, Italy, and I wrote this poem about it. It's called Events. We gather at the mouth of the lake to discourse upon science and not the parenthetical losses in our lives. I present evidence of transient events recorded intracellularly from the motor cortex of a laboratory monkey reaching for a cookie pellet. His task is complex. He must open the drawer with his right hand and extract the morsel with his left. My colleagues ask probing questions about the strength of the neural activity and the robustness of the response. No one asks about the death of my lover, or why the lake turns sparkling blue early in the morning, just as the sun finds the row of pollard cypresses along the water's edge, their naked branches entangled like axon fibers or monkey's arms reaching out for help. So then I also love to research. I mean, I think that's what science gave me, was this love to research and also curiosity. And so I started delving into word origins and words and the musicality of words and everything about them. And so an early poem I wrote was called Abracadabra. Abracadabra. Words. Some words stay around forever. Others barely an eye blink. Slang words like daddy-o, groovy, rad, get old-fashioned, come and go within a generation. They're gone like your health, discarded as quickly as a friend who sleeps with your lover when you go out of town. Some words lose their reason for existence, like B-Ray or Spinning Jenny, or like the name I used to call you. Some words get replaced, like friends are when we move to a new town or new passage in our evolution. A computer, for instance, used to be a job description, not something that sits on your desk to document the changes in your life. Some words were there from the beginning of the language. I'm sure the first Englishmen needed to speak of food and water and love before there was takeout pizza, Perrier, betrayal. These staple words, useful and necessary, among the first we learn. They stay around forever, like college roommates who won't disappear just because you're getting a divorce or going through chemo. And then there are the really old words, inherited from ancient times, words like sorrow, which came from the old German Sorega, which in turn came from Saraga, an old Slavic term meaning sickness. They're so old, you don't know why they're there, like your friendship with your second grade classmate who taught you to make high-pitched noises through your nose. Words like abracadabra, which meant perish like the words when it began its Kabbalistic journey nearly 3,000 years ago on the banks of the Euphrates. Perhaps it began one night as a Chaldean mother tried to comfort her ailing daughter, as a game perhaps, or a play on her name. She whispered, Abade Kedabra, over and over, each time with one less letter, telling her the pain would go away with each discarded A and D. She smiled, just the way you did, on the day you said abracadabra. And I turned around, and you were gone. Thank you. So in 1997, I went to Greece for the first time, and it changed my life. I mean, it's an incredible place for so many things. The texture of the air and the water and the color. I mean, that alone, but also the mythology, and there's so much that's just underlying our whole culture. And so I just delved right into it, and I loved everything that I learned. And I wrote lots of poems about Greece, and I'm going to read you a short one from a night I experienced on the island of Samos. I was at Heaven's Bar, which is 2 tables on the beach. The waiters were like, it was 2 o'clock in the morning. The waiters are standing behind me, waiting for me to leave. But I'm watching the moon rise out of the ocean. It's like life didn't get better than that. And I think this captures the magic and mystery of being in Greece. It's called Friday Night at Agos Konstantinos. The big event is the evening stroll down the uneven street, homes not 20 feet from the Aegean, watered by church and woods, house front walls a backdrop for old faces staring out to sea, waiting for sons from wars and daughters with babies. Couples tilt drinks at Heaven's Bar. Lovers huddle under the boulders on the beach. Smoke dries around backgammon men leathered at the Cafe Neo as the sea womb tightens on families mid-bite in tavernas open to the air. Curious eyes these humans have, following darkness and each other. They watch as movements mew and deform, knowing the sea is there, listening to the footsteps, the blinking trees, the smell of the air. Thanks. And once I started into studying Greece, I discovered the birth of the patriarchy, which basically that's what this book is about, and also my novel is about, the birth of the patriarchy. And my novel is it's a metaphor for killing off the patriarchy, but I won't get into that. But I started writing poems about, I found out that underlying the patriarchy, before the patriarchy, there was a whole goddess civilization. And, there's a reason why snakes are vilified now, and it has to do with this killing off of the goddess civilization. I found a book called How to Kill a Dragon, and it's all about the linguistics about why every society and culture has dragons and snakes as being bad. So I attended a drumming circle in Southern California, and this is from that experience, and it's called the Snake Priestess. Hidden by wild beach grasses, the drumming circle winds around her, jostle to the right, then widdishing, hands raised, fingers listen like wandering sky sticks to the steady beat of buffalo skins as proud frame drums speak. I am woman, I am moment, I am now. Her cotton dress floats, legs uncrossed, naked feet welcome the incoming tide. As she turns, I stare at the python, its patterned body around her neck, its coiled head tucked under her breast. I am woman, I am moment, I am now. Now, I am woman, I am moment, I am now. She slides the snake towards me, transferring the snake up my terrified arm, saying this movements will heal me. V'hanacha chaya arum mikol chayet hasadeh. It claims the serpent was cunning beyond all beasts of the fields, but her eyes, green by the slanting sun, reassure me this is the ritual repeated as it was before iron, before bronze, even before planted wheat. As it was, it is now. I am woman, I am moment, I am now, I am woman, I am moment, I am now. I take a thick djembe, its painted symbols point to Mother Earth. It is signed by the teacher, a link one to another through our bracelets, American gold welded to metal from Crete and Egypt, link stretched taut, woman to woman through our hands beating the mystery of the goddess, the spiraling snake closing in on my throat, my palm flat, a heart against the drumhead. I am woman, I am moment, I am now, I am woman, I am moment, I am now, 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 now. Now. And then, shedding my last name, freeing my arms, chest, breast, thighs, the serpent opening my eyes, Patifa, Kakna, and Aishanayim. And their eyes were opened and they knew they were naked. And I become sky-clad and hear my own drumbeat, the blood pouring down between my legs. I am woman, I am moment, I am now. Thank you. Thank you. And for my last poem, I wanted to talk a little about my Jewish roots. And I had the opportunity to study poetry at Charles University in Prague, and I took a trip that many thousands and thousands of Jews took from the Jewish ghetto in Prague to Terezin, which is a transport camp that was an actual town that the Nazis used as a transport camp, and from there to Auschwitz, where 1.5 million people died. And I took that trip. One, the Jewish ghetto in Prague. This is called the Garden of the Dead. I sit on Mezalova Street, time ticking backwards. A woman clicks by on high, brisk heels. Two men argue in forced tones, sitting on my bench, but leave as the rain starts. The deluge slickens the cobblestones, and I see a woman with a yellow umbrella crossing the street. I hear a beat, music about children learning the alphabet. Und der Rebbe lernen kleinen Kinderlach, dem Aleph Beis. The song seeps through the old cemetery, bodies buried 12 deep. I'm sitting next to the old new synagogue. There's a legend that the stones of this synagogue were exiled from the temple in Jerusalem, and someday they will rise borne aloft on the letters of the divine, the 4 letters of the unutterable name of God: Yod, wisdom; Hey, comprehension of all life; Vav, answers to all questions posed; Hey, the unity of God. I've got some questions. When Nazi jackboots echoed through this synagogue and words were replicated in congregations' blood, where the letters scrambled by pride of tongues, where the stones strifed by dread and the teachings profaned and sealed forever. We are torches of days, trains from our country. We have no simple way to bridge between earth and dream. 2, Terezin. I buy cookies at the food stalls and hop onto the bus. Red poppies, rain in the road, fields of blue are brushed like paint on captured sunlight. The bus speeds towards this line of poplars, a demarcation of kinds. In Terezin, I do a slow walk around the central square. The trees are purple, the roses tamed. A small white one catches my thought. There are clean buildings, the grocery, the bakery, the SS headquarters, the barracks done up brightly yellow where the congregations waited. In the museum, Our guide tells us how his grandfather thought Jews ate children. On the wall is a poem written by a young boy that was killed in Auschwitz. This is what he wrote. Zadrada mala pinarushi voni. A garden fragrant and full of roses. The path is narrow and a little boy walks along it. Chalupachek, a sweet boy, like that growing blossom when the blossom comes to bloom. Chalupachek, ushna budi. The little boy will be no more. 3. Auschwitz. The silence. Wooden buildings in endless rows. Towards the fence, the red grass grows. A mother distracts her 3-year-old by picking yellow asters. Her small violet shoes knead the ground. Come back. And then there's the railroad track with cross ties that cling to the limestone bed like vomited cookies. I walk along it, my feet awkward with each selected stride. It's hard, but it's why I must do it. We are torches of days, trains from our countries. We have no simple way to bridge between earth and dream. Let me rewrite history, replace adamantine days with lined faces, slight scored battles of pumpkin cries, legends blued in twilight races. Listen to the silent rocks, shoots of grass, soaked land, white birches. I walk the railroad track. An echo, unyielding, forever. In the garden of the dead, the exiles weep for eternity. They've witnessed all the lies. In the garden of the dead, they've seen the depth of lunacy, and no, the stones won't rise. Thank you.
For those of you who just joined us, you're watching For the Love of Words. We just heard the beautiful poetry of Thea Iberal. And now I'm here with George Camo and singer, songwriter, musician Bob Bent.
Bob, I just met you for the first time, and I asked where Rich, our producer and entrepreneur, casts a wide net. He goes New Hampshire to wherever, North Shore, South Shore, Rhode Island. And you said he found you at Mansfield Music and Arts, and I'm just going to give a plug. That is one of the better venues around music and poetry, and mature audiences willing to listen. So I'm glad to hear that you're there because I'm within range. Where else do you perform in this area?
I perform at the Mockingbird, which is also in Mansfield. Okay. It's down near the
Never been there.
Performance Center,
Okay.
The Twitter Center,
Okay.
what they call it now.
Yep.
And I performed out in Florida quite a bit
Really?
because I go to Florida about 1 week out of every month. And
Oh,
there's,
wow.
there's a lot of venues
Beautiful.
down there.
Wow.
But locally, those are the two, the Mansfield Music and Art Society and the Mockingbird.
And what genres do you cover?
I write most of my songs as folk pop
Okay.
or Americana pop. There's some,
Okay.
they have different names for it all the time, but it's primarily folk music.
Okay, beautiful. Can't wait to hear it.
When did you first start playing the guitar and thinking about writing music or singing?
I studied playing guitar in high school, but I didn't really get serious about songwriting until probably around 1999.
Oh, very recent.
I was working on, I'm also a fine artist, and that's primarily my full-time job. So I was working on a painting that several people came in to critique it, and they said it's very musical.
Oh.
Had a very musical look to it. And it intrigued me, so I said, maybe I'll dig up my music roots again. And I happened to have two artist friends who were musicians, and we teamed up and we created a band called the Umlauts.
Oh,
And we recorded 3 albums from about 2000 to about 2010.
so there is ekphrastic folk music too?
Those are a little bit more rock and roll, but heavily influenced by folk. So it'd be folk rock.
Oh,
And that was my next question is, who are some of your influences along the way?
Musically, I would say Bob Dylan, Neil Young, Roger McGuinn. Those are probably my 3 main influences that date way back. I'm from that generation, so that's my kind of music. But I love a lot of the current music. The Luminaires, they're a folk pop band that's exploded. I mean, they're so famous now. So it's taking on, that kind of music is really coming back, and it's coming back with a lot of energy.
I thought it was a great breakthrough for poetry with Bob Dylan getting the Nobel Prize. Although a lot of people thought it should have been Leonard Cohen.
Well, it should have been both. It should have been Dylan 20 or 30 years ago, and Leonard Cohen maybe more recently.
You know, maybe Leonard will get his someday.
Hallelujah.
So you've put out 3 albums with your group, and are you currently working towards an album?
I am working on an album now. I've been doing recording different songs for probably 2 years now, and it's kind of finding the time to get into the studio to put the tracks down. That's what's slowing me down, but I've got all of the songs, just trying to get the time to do it.
Isn't that every artist's debacle? Is okay, I can write and practice and perform, but I have to record this, and then you just have to stop
But it
everything.
also means you had a day job.
Yes, well, painting, I paint.
Oh,
all day long.
that's you support yourself painting. Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Tell us about some of your visual art, some of your paintings. I mean, I've looked at your website. You know, it was last year, and we had talked about it. And profound, deep. I can't. There's so much in just a section of the picture that you can't describe the whole thing, but you probably could.
Well, my work, the largest body of work I have is based on the subtropical forest of Florida. So I spend a lot of time down there going to some of the barrier islands and just going into the jungle and creating compositions, bringing them back to my studio. And then I create very large paintings that are 4 by 6 feet or 4 by 4 feet. And they're the interior of the subtropical forest. So they're very different because they don't have the classic foreground, middle ground, background. They don't even have a horizon line. You're just looking straight into this tangle of jungle.
When we spoke last year, I tried to imagine you taking that where you were your inspiration for one of your paintings, and I was looking at your website, and so I made it full screen, and I stood back, and I stood further back, and I couldn't stand even further back. And everywhere you look in the picture, it's another universe. You do feel like you're in the jungle.
Well, modern landscape painting is called all-over painting. So you don't have a central focus. You try to paint the whole canvas is full of different things.
Edge to edge.
You aren't drawn necessarily to a specific focal point. And that's the kind of landscape painting that I engage in.
Okay, I'll be on your website when I get home too. And what is it?
It's robertbentfineart.com.
Okay.
And do you have any plans, or have you thought about something which blends your music with your painting? Because to me it just seems so natural.
I haven't thought of music, but I've been working for quite a few years on trying to put a show together with poetry.
Right.
And having poets write poems on different pieces in the show. But, music is another good idea.
But you didn't bring show and tell CD.
I didn't.
Oh.
Mainly because it's the last CD. It's still available on CD Baby. If you go and look up the Umlauts They still carry it.
You have to spell Umlauts for me.
It's U-M-L-A-U-T.
Oh, okay.
And how long ago was that your group?
I think that album was put out in 2010. We started around 2000. We had an album called The Jane Party at Pinksterville, and then Out of Nowhere. And then the album that's still available is called Premonition.
Okay.
Well, it's time to hear the music of Bob Bent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rich. My name is Bob Bent, and I'm going to start with a song called Your Blue Eyes Shine. Your blue eyes shine like the ocean waves, sparkling as they catch the rays. You close them now like the sun going down, and when they open with the light of dawn, I'll be waiting for you. The sunlit color of your golden hair brightens everything in the morning air. The come hither look and your ruby red lips, from which they whisper, come over here, and then you're waiting for me. I feel the warmth of your tight embrace as we melt into our arms again. Are we blinded by the setting sun, or are we forever to live our lives as one together, as one? Your blue eyes shine like the ocean waves, sparkling as they catch the rays. You close them now like the sun going down, and when they open with the light of dawn, I'll be waiting for you. For my next song, I'm going to try something that is dedicated to anyone who lost somebody who went off to war. A very unfortunate occurrence. This is called After the War. She was a friend of mine. I hardly knew her most of the time, because she was out of her mind, worrying about the war. see her, old man. Thought it important as an American to go off to a foreign land to fight in the war. The day he left, her mind went blank. What was left of her heart just sank. It didn't matter what they said about the war. He wrote her as often as he could. He thought that she understood how all of this would come out in the end after the war. She wore a yellow ribbon in her hair, praying he would not die over there, leaving her all alone after the war. She stood there so stoically the day they handed her Old Glory that was draped over her old man who died in the war. She said he died to keep her free, but in the end she lost everything. She was living for after the war. She was a friend of mine. I hardly knew her most of the time, because she was out of her mind, worrying about the war. This next song is called "What Are the Trumpets Blowing For?" And I've always been interested as to where songwriters find the kernel for a song, what starts that song on its way. And I've heard a lot of stories. And what started this song was I was watching a episode of Twilight Zone. And the episode involved this trumpet player who was kind of down and out. He had decided drinking was his favorite thing to do, and it ruined his career. And no matter where he went, no one would ever hire him because they knew he would be trouble in the end. So the episode gets to this point where he goes to a club that he's gone to many times before, and he's begging them to let him play. And they told him they've given him too many chances in the past, so this is it. You know, it's the end of the road. So the owner of the club leaves, and this other character comes on, and he's dressed in black and starts having a conversation with the trumpet player. And this guy's name is Gabriel. And it ends up that he is there to take the trumpet player home. So again, this song is called "What Are the Trumpets Blowing For?" I hear the trumpet blowing, Gabriel's calling me, long shadows falling beneath the full pale moon. Oh, Gabriel, please lay down your horn, play that sweet tune I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for, I've been waiting for. Smoky blue horizon from off the distant shore, that's where I'm headed. Oh, I've been there before. Open the gates, I'm coming home. My baby's calling for me once more. For me once more. For me once more. I hear the trumpet blowing, Gabriel's calling me, long shadows falling beneath the full pale moon. Oh, Gabriel, please lay down your horn, play that sweet tune I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for, I've been waiting for. It's called She's My Angel, and it's based on a true story. She's my angel, she's my angel, she's so good to me. She's sent down from heaven, so let it be. She brings me good tidings and blessings too. God knows I've been a devil, He sent her after me. There's no escaping, there's nowhere to hide. There finally comes a time when you do or die. Her smile lights the sky Her touch a Midas high, her eyes cast a shadow all over me. So my angel, I pray you are kind and take me away where the angels fly. She brings me good tidings and blessings too. God knows I've been a devil. He sent her after me. Okay, this will be my last song, closing song. And you know, when you're writing songs, the character you create can sometimes take on a life of its own. And this song is called In the Pages. And in this song, the character comes out between the lines. It's called In the Pages. I should leave her in the pages that lie torn upon the floor, not letting her slip out any further than my imagination can afford. Well, she's the girl who's come out between the lines. She's the girl who's come out between the lines. She appeared out of nowhere, and has taken hold of me. Mere gravity can't hold her, I'll drop her tenderly. Well, she's the girl who's come out between the lines. She's the girl who's come out between the lines. I can't escape the ink that's dried upon this messy page. It's better to leave her where I found her, in the pages torn upon the floor. Oh, she's the girl who's come out between the lines. She's the girl who's come out between the lines. She's the girl who's come out between the lines. As the last thing, I'd really like to thank Rich Berg for inviting me to play here tonight, and George Camus. Thank you very much.
That wraps up this February 2017 edition of For the Love of Words, Artist Interviews and Performances. Thank you to our recording engineers, Kim Pincus and Robert Miller, to the Ames Free Library, the Easton Shoveltown Cultural District, and the trustees for supporting poetry, music, and this program. For the Love of Words is filmed at ECAT Studios, 50 Oliver Street, Northeastern, Massachusetts. Thank you.